everything. The way I walk, the way I breathe. Will my fate shift into the night? But here I am, same old thing. Sinking deep, no ecstasy. Reality haunts the living mind. If I saw another day, only to scream into the night. Nothing ever tries to change, even if I want to realize. 'Cause I've been sitting here, same old ways, taking off without the same mistake. Darling, when you go away, won't be as simple for you.
I'm on mute. It's used to automatically unmute myself on mute. But anyway, yo, guys, Old Man G back again for the final Premier League match reaction of the season. Obviously, we've got an FA Cup game coming next week. But job done. That's all I can say. Job done. You know, it was a fitting way to end the season. United obviously secured third place against Newcastle. And ultimately, and obviously, we'll be doing a season review where where we'll talk about the season, how it's been. I think a lot is going to be dependent on the FA Cup game. If I'm both honest, if we win that FA Cup game, I think you've got to say we've had a fantastic season. You know, but before we get into it, if you are new to the channel, to like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio, follow us on Twitter X, and smash the notification button. Plays Manchester United news and more. It's the end of the season. It's final season end of season game. It was a nice fitting way. Shout out to Zach and the chat, man. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Watching on Twitter. I do have a Twitter channel, so please follow me on Twitter if you're there as well. But yeah, it was a fitting way to end the season, man. It was really, really fitting. I think. I think that there was. I think both teams technically had nothing really to play for. But the fact that we actually saw Twitch, yes, Twitch, not Twitter, Twitch. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter as well. On Twitter, shout out to someone that says big up him. Yeah, it was a fitting way to end the season, you know. So at home, and obviously our record at home has been phenomenal. I think I read a stat thing. I think this is the best. I think we won the most amount of wins at home in a season. I think. So you know, Ten Hag, whatever you say, has made Old Trafford a fortress. I think the last time we lost to Old Trafford was actually the beginning of the season. The first game of the season with Maguire in goal. And after that, we've been good. Literally, it was Brighton at home, 2-1, and we haven't lost since. So shout out to Ten Hag. He has made Old Trafford a fortress again. I'm a lot more confident when we play at home against teams. I hope we can take that confidence next season. Our away form has to be better. We're going to go close. I mean, if you want to look at the table, and obviously we'll break down the game in a second. Shout out to RSC, man. Big up RSC, man. Hope you're doing well, buddy. So it says that we equaled it. Okay, and Zach says we were so bad in the first game of the season. That's what exactly. We were bad for a few games. So for Ten Hag to turn it around has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, if I look at obviously this is the final points tally here, as you can see. City obviously champions, 89 points. We were what? So how many points were we behind Cities? 10, 14 points. I mean, compared to how many points were we behind them last season? We're 14 points this season. Look at the sixth. Jeez. If anyone doesn't think that we haven't improved this season, they're lying. 58 points, guys. 58 points last season. and City had 93, 58 points. So we've hell of improved. 58 points, guys. 2021, where did we finish? 74. Okay, so we've actually beaten Ollie's record, and I think City had 886 there. And then 2029 to 20, yeah, 66 points, man. It just, yeah. I think if you look at the post Sir Alex Ferguson years, this has technically been one of our better seasons. And I think if we win the FA Cup somehow, it would have been a good season. We've clearly improved compared to last season. We just need to build on it now. We really need to build on it now. And specifically, our away record needs to improve. Just focusing back on the game, my thoughts. Obviously, the link, I think I pinned the link in the description. If you want to come on and share your thoughts, then obviously just let me know in the chat. But just focusing on this actual game, a few things that I want to mention, I think they're important. I think the first thing important is that Fred has to start. Okay, Fred has to start against Manchester. If we start Eriksen and Casemiro against Manchester City, we are going to lose. For the love of God, I don't know if Fred is out of favour, if there's something wrong, but we cannot start. It was the same thing when we played against what's it called again? Freaking Sevilla. You know, we cannot start. Eriksen and Casemiro is too unbalanced. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So my first point is, and I see you asking back, I'll bring you in a second. But the most important thing of mine is that when we're talking about, because to be honest, you know, we secured top 4 against Chelsea, bantering them. That for me was the final game. As far as I'm concerned, the most important game now is that FA Cup final. The FA Cup final is the thing that I care about the most now, because it is another a chance of silverware, and more importantly, we can stop City winning a treble. You know, so the FA Cup game for me is almost the biggest final in recent history. And it's weird because no one really cares about the FA Cup really, but this is actually the biggest final in recent football history. Like, it has so many implications on Pep Guardiola, on City, on the legacy, on United's legacy, etc. This is the FA Cup one is a big game. Big, you know, and we'll do a preview for it. But, you know, what I know though is that we cannot play Eriksen in that. We're going to get bossed if we play Eriksen with Casemiro. So Fred, for me, from what he showed, that I watched that again, guys. Guys. I'm not. This is the thing with Fred. That pass from Fred. Did you see that pass for that second goal for Bruno? What was that? That was ridiculous. And this is the thing with Fred is so frustrating, is that he can have a really good game and he can have a crap game as well. You know, which Fred is going to turn up. But if I'm honest, I would rather take the risk with Fred. And if he doesn't do well, okay, sub him off and put Eriksen on. But you can't, in my opinion, you can't play. Eriksen is fine against teams that have a low block. Then Eriksen is fine. That teams are going to wait and have a low block, Eriksen. But with teams that have competent midfields, we can't play it. We can't play him. He's not holding midfield and doesn't have the legs for it. So that's my Eriksen ran out of the way. The second point is this. De Gea's penalty save allows us to come back and win the game. Big save, but it still needs to go. Yes. De Gea we may need De Gea to step up for penalties in the final. And that might be the thing that gives him confidence. That's a very, very important thing. That save may be the thing that gives De Gea confidence to be able to save penalties later down the line. It might be. It literally might be the thing that gives him the confidence to say, like, you know what? Boom, I can do it. Because I actually bet on United over penalty shootout against City. I do. Because we actually have really good penalty takers. You know, whereas City's penalty takers aren't that great. They don't seem to practice penalties that much. So if we can get them to penalties, I bet Manchester United to beat City over penalties. I do. You know, not because I think that De Gea is a better shot stopper, but because I think we'll take better penalties and City will miss. You know, as we've seen this season. But De Gea saving the penalty. And he died, and the thing is, what was great about that penalty stop was the fact that it isn't typically like how De Gea's done it before. Like, he did a proper dive. Like, he did a proper dive to get it. Like, he doesn't seem to do that with penalties. He's kind of like, he stutters, I don't know. But he did a proper dive and saved it. So he's been working on it, which is good to see. Like, I agree with you. We still need a replacement, I think. But brilliant save. Brilliant save by De Gea. Brilliant save by De Gea. What was the third? What was the third again? There was another point. Oh yes. Well, a few minor points. Obviously, Weghorst, great. You support this season, but I think that and obviously I'll talk about this more in the season review. And I'm going to be calling all or any United fans who want to be involved in a season review. Either give me a DM. I'll set a date, but we're going to hopefully get a lot of United fans, fan channels, etc., coming on and giving their opinion for the season. So that will probably be a week after the FA Cup. It's not this weekend, but the weekend after, probably like on the Saturday. I think that's probably the plan. But yeah, Weghorst, great. Thank you for sort of helping us while you can, but he's going to go back. And to be honest, I'll say the same thing to Sabitzer as well. I think that we have to be ruthless in the summer, and one of the things I'm looking at is player availability. A lot of people want Fred to be. I keep on hearing things like people wanting Fred to be sold, for example. But the reality is that Fred is one of our most fit players. Like the most important thing for me, the most important asset any player have is availability. I think Martial's much more talented as a footballer than Fred, for example, but he's too injury prone. We need to have a squad of players that are available at least 75% of the season. The very fact that, Martial's injuries has not been great. If we look at the players that have been injured out for a while, really and truly, Bruno, Fred, the Brazilians or Portuguese, Bruno, Fred, Casemiro. That's pretty much been, I would argue, that everyone else has had injuries or occurrence of injuries. Anyone else? Rashford's been injured a bit. Martial's been injured a bit. Sancho issues. Anthony's picked up tons of injuries. So, availability for me is important. So when we're going into season, let's not just get bought in by hype. That's why I love Neymar. Neymar's a talented player. He's cool. But I wouldn't go next to him because his injury record. Even Harry Kane, I'm a little bit worried about. So we need to really think about the players that are going to coming in. Yes, if their talent's great, but what's the availability like? That's very, very important. And City figure that out. West Ham away, Brighton away, Tottenham away, Arsenal away, Palace away. Yeah, all lost to those. Fred sometimes may be good, sometimes maybe, yeah, exactly. But to be honest, I would rather take my chances on him in the final than Eriksen. I've actually not seen Eriksen play well since he came back from injury. Like, since he came back from injury, I've not seen him play well. And even before injury, he still can play in a deep-lying midfield role on Casemiro. He can't do that. Maybe he can play at a number 8, and so a number 10. Maybe play him as a 10, but not in a deep-lying midfield role. He can't play that role. And he's not been great since he's come back. So for me, put Fred in. Fred for me, and then all we have to do is replicate what we did at Old Trafford. Put Fred on KDB. He's got the pace, he's got the energy. He man marks KDB out of the game, and then put Luke Shaw on Haaland. You've got two of those guys out, and then you need to just worry about maybe either Bernardo Silva or Mahrez or whatever, and that's it. And then obviously they have to worry about longing the ball. But our forwards need to be better. And that's a key thing. I mean, congrats to Sancho, who got the goal. Happy about it. And obviously, hopefully that builds his confidence. But we do need to see more from Sancho going forward. But if we are going to beat City next week, our forwards have got to be much better and we've got to be clinical. Funny thing is, Fred had an easier pass to slip in Rashford, but overhit it in a few minutes later. Man of match tonight, and he has to start. Yeah, he has to start versus City. I will question. I don't want to question the manager, but I will question Ten Hag a lot if he starts Eriksen against. If he starts Eriksen against City. because because that's stubbornness or that is favoritism, and that's one of the things that I don't want to see my managers. I don't care if the player's going or whatever. Just like Wan-Bissaka, Dalot's got a new contract. Wan-Bissaka hasn't. But you play Wan-Bissaka because Wan-Bissaka is the better right back at this moment in time. Right now, for me, in terms of physicality, tenacity, etc., it's not that Fred can't have a mare. He can, but he can also potentially play a world-class game. And I'd rather take that risk in a final than know for a fact that our midfield is going to be bossed if Eriksen comes into the midfield. Glad we finished third. Don't have to worry about CL qualification. No. At home, there's no CL qualification match. There's no CL qualification is not not a thing for Premier League teams. They scrapped that a while ago for teams that were in the top 4 in Europe. So there's no qualifying games for teams in England, Spain, Germany, and Italy. I think all top 4 are secured. So yeah, we didn't have to do any qualifying matches. That was world class last year. The score, yeah. We can't get to bits on a permanent loan as well. Please, yeah, I win as well. Injuries have held us back from doing exactly. And that's why I say that when we look at the players coming in, we need to sign injury-free players, not injury-prone players. Fred Eriksen against City, and lastly, Wan-Bissaka so much better. Yep, I agree. Right, let me quickly get RSV in. He's been waiting for ages, but let me get him in. Yo, RSV, man, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Yeah, not too bad. It was good.
Yeah.
Fitting way to end the season. But like I said, if I'm honest, my mind is on the FA Cup final. That's where my mind is. I'm glad we won. I've got the confidence. My only worry about this game was that Fred was starting, and I hope that means he's going to start the final because, in my opinion, we can't have Eriksen starting the final.
I think it was kind of it might have been a bit of a blessing in disguise because I think Ten Hag was trying to do some experimentation by starting Fred today for the FA Cup final.
Yeah. And I hope he looked and was like, yeah, I need to start this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, today's match was a pretty solid performance. It wasn't like a too dominant, pretty football or anything, I would say, but it was a bit frustrating at times, man, to see the amount of turnovers that they had. But overall, I thought we played pretty well, man. We could have scored more goals, man. We missed a lot of sitters, man.
No, I mean, I think that shout out to Mitrovic, by the way. You know, got banned, wanted to get his revenge against Manchester United, and then missed the penalty, man. You know, that was funny. You know, so shout out to Mitrovic, man. You know, love guys, banter guy. You know, so it's funny. So it still perplexes me how so many people were angry that Mitrovic got a red card, and were like, what Mitrovic did to the ref was the same as what Bruno did to the ref in the Liverpool game. It just made no sense.
It was not. Because Bruno didn't yell at the ref or anything. He just slightly pushed him.
It wasn't even the ref. He just mushed him out of the way. And the thing is, he tapped him first. So it's like when you touch the player first, and you touch the thing. It's like you're already kind of inviting that contact. You touch me, so I'm going to touch you. This guy literally squared up to the guy,
and then he yelled at the ref. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but apparently, rival fans. I mean, and it's fair enough because a lot of the rival fans that were saying that are not going to play Champions League football next season. So, Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, you know, where are they? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so one of them is going to do in Europa League. The other is just not going to be in any
the
league.
Bottom half. Yeah.
So, you know, I mean,
also regarding the FA Cup final, dude. So when we beat them at Old Trafford back then, this is one thing I'm kind of worried about because back then, dude, Pep's Manchester City Pep didn't have a working system at the time because he was playing a back four. His system was very, very found out, and his system was exposed at the time because people found out how to eliminate the main supplier for Erling Haaland, that is Kevin De Bruyne. If you man mark him and pocket him, then you're basically eliminating him throughout the whole entire 90 minutes. That makes Haaland get no service. That's what we did at Old Trafford when Fred was tasked with doing that, to man mark Kevin De Bruyne, because I believe Southampton did the same exact thing as well in the League Cup semifinal. That's how Southampton. Sorry, not semi. Yeah, I think it was League Cup semifinal or League Cup final.
Yeah,
League
League
Cup.
Cup semi-final. League Cup semi-final. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Southampton did the same exact thing, which was right before a City faced us at Old Trafford. Southampton had like I think less than 30% possession, but City had no shots on goal throughout the whole entire game. And bang, dude,
Mm,
Southampton managed to knock them out. They basically like stopped a potential quadruple from happening.
mm.
Because like since March, Pep switched to a back three, and like Pep's system has been very, very unpredictable and unbeatable since then, dude. Like
Mm,
he like
mm,
by playing John Stones in that double pivot alongside Rodri, by playing him as an inverted center back, that gave Kevin De Bruyne more like freedom and more space to like roam around in the half channels. So that's one thing that's one thing that's kind of like worrying because Pep knew that people were finding out how to actually beat City because at the time City's system was very, very predictable
mm.
when he was
It's
playing
a
a back three.
concern. It's a concern, and I mean, to be honest, you saw what they did to
Yeah,
Real Madrid at the Etihad. And my
yeah,
only thing is that it's just like I'm just hoping that somehow they're
yeah,
they're away, that they're them being at Wembley, they're away from the United support. Somehow that is going to make a change. They're not
yeah.
going to be playing at
Hopefully,
the Etihad, which is now their fortress. No one can beat them there.
yeah.
No one has beaten them there.
Hmm.
Well, aside from Brentford, I think Brentford beat them there at
Yeah,
home. That's
Brentford
the
did.
only other team that did it. Yeah. In
But
fact, what
back
was the
then,
score? Did they was it a draw still? Did City win? I didn't
oh,
see the
today City
Brentford.
lost. Brentford beat them.
Oh, Brentford beat them. Oh, so the only team that did the double over City was Brentford. There you go.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but obviously it was a dead rubber game anyway. So, but
yeah. Hmm.
just go. I mean, to be fair, I did actually say that if Arsenal could have
But
held on.
there's no way. Yeah, sorry. There's no way Pep is gonna play a back four. He's gonna play a back three
Mm,
regardless in the
mm,
FA
mm,
Cup final.
mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I know we're going straight to the FA Cup final. And oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Samasi says Fred is the most unconvincing player. He's sometimes great, sometimes he's a brick. I take that chance in the final. I'll take that chance in the final. That's what I'll take that chance in the final. So
Hmm.
because if you get that greatness from Fred in a final, it might be what pushes us to win the game. If we
Yeah.
get the brickness, okay, fine, we'll lose, but we're going to lose with Ericsson there anyway. I literally don't see
Exactly.
how we're going to beat City with Ericsson. I can't remember the midfield we played against them at the Etihad, but I'm fairly sure it was wasn't it Ericsson and McTominay?
Yeah, yeah. They didn't do their defensive work at all in that game.
Yeah, Ericsson, and we got bantered with, I don't know, and then even
Yeah,
against Liverpool,
because
I don't think Fred was playing in that midfield either.
no, he did at Anfield. He did at Anfield.
I
It was
don't think
Fred and
no,
Casemiro.
he
It
didn't
was mainly
start, did
our.
he?
No, he did. He did. Fred and Casemiro played. They like pressed up front. But the thing
Hmm.
is, like, it was mainly our wingers not doing their defensive work. Like, Anthony was 100% at fault for the first goal we conceded at Anfield.
Yeah, yeah, that was. I mean, yeah, which is again another issue.
Yeah, even
Um,
at the Etihad, they did the same exact thing. They left our fullbacks exposed at the Etihad.
hmm, yes, you're right. It was Fred Casemiro. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, we did the whole Bruno on the right thing and Wake course as a 10. I
yeah.
still remember that, which
And
just
we played
didn't
Dalot
work.
on the left. Yeah.
Yeah, we played Dollar. Oh no, we
Sorry,
played
Dalot on
Dollar
the
on the
right.
right. It
Yeah,
was
sorry,
Luke
that
Shaw.
Dalot on the right. Yeah,
Yeah, and Luke Shaw. Yeah, our fullbacks were bad. Luke Shaw, I remember we had a
yeah.
terrible, terrible game that season.
But it was
Yeah.
mainly our wingers not tracking back and leaving our fullbacks exposed, especially Anthony.
Mm. No, we need to do. We definitely need to do. We definitely need to do better. Definitely need to do
Yeah,
better than that. If we were more clinical, we would have had 120 plus. I mean, I'll talk about on the because when we do our kind of season review, which will be after the FA Cup, a week after the FA Cup weekend, hopefully. The reality is that well, no, do a tier list and everything like that. The reality is, I think the reason why we're top four is because of our defense. It's because of our defense,
hmm,
and the depth that we have in our defense, most importantly. So because we brought in, Malacia, we brought in Martinez, we obviously Varane last season, the depth that we have, so that just because, and obviously now Luke Shaw deputizing as a left-sided centre back, that's
yeah,
basically what saved us. Because if we had to rely on I'm not saying we've not scored goals. I mean, shout out 4 goals against Chelsea
yeah,
FC, but we've not been clinical enough. If we were clinical, we'd still be in the Europa League. We'd have put 5 past Sevilla at Old Trafford, easy. But we weren't clinical enough, and we got punished. So
exactly.
And even though everyone goes on about Maguire, etc., and it's fair enough, at the same time, we shouldn't have to rely on only 1 goal or 2 goals to basically win off games. Not with the amount of money that a lot of our strikers are on. And the reality is, none of our strikers or forwards are in the top 5 of strikers or forwards this season. That's City have Erling Haaland who's scoring them 40 plus G's now, and we don't have anyone that's even close to that. So that's mind.
I just saw something that we scored the same amount of goals as last season. Last season we scored 58. This season we scored 58.
So there you go. We need a striker. Arguably, we need 2 because I think we should sell Martial because he's injury prone. I knew we weren't going to lose our top 4 spot under Oli, sure, but this is Ten Hag. He has his dodgy moments, but when it clicks, it clicks. Yeah, like I said, I am concerned about the final because I don't want him, David, to start Eriksen. But yeah, we need to back this guy, and we need to see, and we need this whole takeover situation sorted because it's delaying the transfers. The takeover situation, and we'll be back. Hopefully, I'll see if we get anything, obviously, from Tom, and maybe have something for you guys in the next few days. We should be hearing something soon, I'd imagine. Now the FA, well, I don't know whether they're going to announce something now or they're going to wait till the FA Cup final's over. I've got no idea. But hopefully we should hear something soon. That's what I think. Anyway. So let me just quickly we'll just quickly do just our player ratings. Obviously, I'll posted a poll who your man of the match is on the community tab, and thank you for those who've been getting involved in community tab posts as well. Really appreciate it. So let's just quickly scroll down here. Right. Okay. So I'll start with you, and it's obviously good having someone else on. So, but David De Gea. David De Gea RSV. What would you give David De Gea?
Probably a 8.5.
Okay.
Because he made a very great save that gave us more motivation to get back into the game after that. After that Mitrovic penalty save, and then he also made a really good save in the second half as well. And he literally helped our team out a lot this season. Though I do think it's time for him to move on because we need a goalkeeper who's excellent with playing out, who are excellent out on playing with their feet, who are great at commanding the back line. We need a goalkeeper like an Alisson, like what Liverpool have. He's a complete goalkeeper with all attributes. But yeah, I would give him an 8.5. Yeah.
Okay. So next, I think Malacia. I don't think Malacia did everyone. I'll just give him a solid 7. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't think he did anything particularly wrong. Or think particularly amazing. So, but yeah, I'd give him a solid 7. I think Malacia's gotten a lot of stick recently, which I don't quite understand because it's his first season. It's his first season. He's still young, and his presence is what's actually made Luke Shaw better. Because we know that Luke Shaw gets better when he has competition. And Malacia, at least for the first few games, was actually pretty good.
He was, yeah.
He tailed off, and also, but the positive about him is that, because he is a left back, when we've been down, we've been able to use him as if Luke Shaw goes into left-sided centre back, we've been able to use him as a left back, and that's actually worked. That's actually how we played against Manchester City, and we won.
Exactly.
So I think that I think he's had a solid season. I can't really criticize any aside from Maguire. I can't really criticize any of the back line this season because I genuinely believe that if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be in the Champions League.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely not.
Harry Maguire,
probably a 6. I mean, he didn't. I wouldn't say he played bad today or anything, but he has given away the ball, which led to that penalty. He did time his runs. He did win a couple of headers. He was good on the air today, but overall, I wouldn't say he was bad or anything. I would give him a 6.5.
Do you think that Harry Maguire stays this season?
No, I think this is his last game. I cannot because he's already our 5th choice center back, and he would have to accept a massive wage reduction. Like I understand that he's on 200 grand a week, and he would love to run down his contract due to those massive wages. But I still think he needs to accept a massive wage reduction just to get out of this mess that he's in.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. Does he try and stay and try and fight for his position and see what
Yeah,
happens? Or does he, especially with England and the Euros and World Cup coming on? Because I know Gareth Southgate has picked him, I think, in the England squad. So, but I just can't see how. I mean, maybe he could. I don't know. 'Cause Southgate is weird, but I just can't see how you can not play a game barely and get
yeah,
picked over those do and have a logic for that. Like if Maguire still so he's going to be for choice because and then that's assuming that we don't sign another centre back because United also have been linked with Kim Min Jae,
Kim
for
Min-jae,
example.
yeah,
And if we get him, I just don't like who's Maguire fighting with, unless like I said, Lindelof. Obviously, Bailly will probably go and Twansibi's gone.
yeah.
Um,
Dwanzibi's gone, Bailly's gone.
Does Lindelof go as well with them? Is that what they're thinking? That Lindelof go, even though I think Lindelof has had a great season.
Yeah,
In
I
fact, I'll go on to him next. I think, give Lindelof another steady 7 as well. I think what Lindelof has
mhm.
shown for me this season, especially given the fact that he's on injuries, is that he wasn't the problem.
Yeah.
And then when he
Every
plays
time
against a competent defender, he's actually a very good defender who I feel that we should keep.
definitely. Yeah, he may
You
not
know,
be that good on the air, but like he's a great ball play defender, and like he does time
yeah,
his runs perfectly. Knows he does scan his surroundings, and like he's a lot better when he's not playing with Maguire. That gives him more confidence as well. The only problem is he's not good on the air though.
I mean, I don't know many City defenders that were aside from maybe Stones that are. So I don't necessarily think you
Yeah,
have to be great in the air. But
yeah,
like, I think that if he's happy to be third choice, which is fine because quite frankly, I think Varane is going to get injured again, and Varane is
yeah.
losing his pace. So for me, if you're third choice in United, you're going to get game time at Manchester United, regardless. You are because Varane will pick up injuries. We don't know how good Martinez is going to be after coming back from his injury. That's another thing.
That's
I
true.
always feel I can't this season. Not even just United, but other players that have come from long-term injuries. They've been longer than a couple of months. They don't look the same. Van
Yeah,
Dijk
like
still doesn't look the same post-injury.
yeah.
Ericsson long-term doesn't look the same. So many players that were out, they just don't look the same once they come up from injury, and that's important.
Hmm.
So 1
That's true.
second. Mo says, send him back to Leicester. Championship is a level. He's going to say, well, I don't think Leicester will take him. But I mean, apparently, rumors say that apparently some teams in Italy are looking at for him, which would be fair because look at Smalling.
Yeah, Chris
Revive,
Smalling. Yeah,
I would take him now. So, but so maybe and Tomori, obviously, so if he's brave enough and he actually wants to play football, in my opinion, he should go to Italy because Italy needs defenders. He'll be able to find a team. I make a case that he could probably walk into any of the top 4 teams in Italy. I'm not saying that disrespectfully, but I mean, I don't think the Italian defenders have teams, from what I know, have great defenders, to be honest. And
Mhm.
I think the pace of the game will suit Maguire a lot more in Italy. And I also think that the way that the tactics will suit the way because there are more
Exactly. Because they
defensive.
don't play a
There
high
is more.
line.
They don't play high lines, so that
Mhm.
those tactics will suit someone like Maguire. I think, So for me, if I'm Maguire, I'm like, yeah, let me go to, let me try and get moved to Inter. Let me try and get moved to AC Milan. If I can't, then I don't. Then get a loan move. Do what we did with Lukaku and Sanchez and what have you, and send him out on loan. Maybe pay half his wages and get him some. That'd be good for his own career and be good for it and good for him as well. For me, that's what he should do. But it is
Mhm.
what it is. What's your thoughts on Dallo?
Dalot, I would also give him like a steady 6.5. He didn't really play that great today, if I'm being
Hmm.
very honest with you. Like he did make some tackles, but like overall, I don't really think he offered much. Like he didn't really have to do that. He didn't really do too much today.
Hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that he didn't have to do much. but I can see why Wan-Bissaka was ahead of him now. Wan-Bissaka's, I mean, we're
Yeah,
going to talk about in the season review, so, but Wan-Bissaka's transformation this season has been stunning. Like, it really, really
exactly.
has.
Yeah,
Like, it really has. And,
even going
um,
forward with the ball as well. Yeah,
yeah, like I said, even going for this is what I'm saying. So, like, people keep on saying Wan-Bissaka's bad going forward. I'm kind of like, is he? Like, I'm not saying like he's world class, but like, I don't expect my fullbacks. Like, I think people have gotten spoiled by watching Andy Robertson and Trent. That like
hmm
spamming crosses, spamming things, and that's how it should be. Like, yes, I would love it if Wamson got more assists and attacked sort of more. But fundamentally, as a fullback, you have to defend, and he does
yeah.
that. And he's been going
hmm
forward, So I think it's just lazy. Just moving forward. Casemiro. I'll give Casemiro again probably a sort of 7. I think
Yeah,
when he came back from his suspension, I think he kind of dropped off a bit, and I think a lot of that might be just because of the amount of times he was out playing for Manchester United. Suspended for
hmm
3 matches, then he'll spend for 4 matches. It just wasn't, and it would be very interesting to know what would have happened if because Casemiro was suspended for 7. Was it 7? Yeah, because he got no,
yeah. I think it was 7 games
because straight red is what
because
2 or 3 games. I can't remember.
oh, sorry, he
Straight,
got suspended for 8 games because like he got a second straight red, which results in a 4 game suspension.
yeah, and then the previous one is 3 games, isn't it?
And then
Yeah,
he
so
was
7
suspended against
games.
Arsenal. He was also suspended against Arsenal after that Crystal Palace yellow card. So that's eight
Yes,
games.
yes, he
Yeah.
missed the last game because of yes, exactly because of all the yellow cards carried over. Yeah, so 8 games,
hmm
8 games. I'm just
Yep.
I'm just thinking. I'm like, what happens if Casemiro had played those 8 games that he missed? So I'm looking back. I mean, if we just quickly back, I'm just going to look at the games that
So
um
we lost to Arsenal. We drew with um we drew with
let-
Leeds and
sorry, let me go back. Let's have a look.
we're good.
So when did his suspension start? Was it in January?
Yeah, yeah, after that Crystal Palace game at Selhurst Park.
But then did he not get a red card before that?
No, he didn't know.
Okay, so the suspension started from because he didn't get a yeah. So he got suspended against
Arsenal at the Emirates.
yeah. So he wasn't here. So that was where his suspension started. So potentially we could have got something against Arsenal if he was playing, but then he came back.
hmm
He was back for that.
Yeah.
Then he got the red card against that
And
was
was
him. Yeah, he got the
yeah,
red card
yeah.
against Palace.
Yeah, he for choking, yeah.
Sorry, I'm going all over the place. Sorry, guys. Just going to work out his suspension. So yeah, so he got the red. So what was his other red card against? It was Southampton. That was it. Yes, I've seen it.
Southampton, yeah.
Yeah. So missed the red card here. So we drew against Leeds. So we could have got 2
hmm
points from that. We could have maybe got
Yeah.
a point against us. That's 3 points. And then he got suspended against Leicester. So really, probably the draw against the points lost against Leeds and possibly the
hmm
Arsenal. So that's 3 points, I think. He comes
Yeah.
back. Okay, then he gets suspended against Southampton. We probably could have won that game, I
hmm
think, if he was still playing on the field. So I think that's 2
Yeah.
points. But he's suspended for 4 matches now. So, which is
Fulham.
quarterfinal on that. Would we have beaten Newcastle away?
No, I still think we
Yeah,
wouldn't have
I don't
because
know.
like in that game, our wingers Rashford didn't track back in that game. I remember watching that game, and plus our
Yeah,
midfielders our two our number 9 and our number 10 both pressed without actually like tracking the opponent's runs, which made it so easy for Newcastle to
yeah,
create overloads on the left hand flank. So yeah,
yeah. No, I agree. So we missed that. So it was 4. So 1, 2. We
yeah,
did beat Brentford just and 4. So okay. So really and truly, we for Casemiro's absence, we probably lost. You could say maybe lost 5 points So we probably would have we've still probably been third, maybe like 81 points just. So I guess it wasn't a massive blow that Casemiro wasn't playing.
It was, yeah.
We still managed to get the job done in most of our games without him, which is a credit to Ten Hag in my personal opinion.
It is.
So yeah, I guess it is what it is. Just moving on quickly. So let me get back to the game because I'm in Google thingy now. And we'll round up soon. Fred, what do you think about how Fred did today?
Yeah, Fred played very well, man. That pass that he gave to I believe Sancho was pretty exquisite on the final throw. I would give him like a 7.5 or an 8. Like he played really well today. He pressed well as well, and he managed to win the ball back so many times. He won a couple of second balls as well. I think if you saw part of the game today,
he needs to start. He needs to
start.
J2S, how you doing? You okay?
Yes. How's everyone else?
Why do you have Neymar in a Manchester United shirt, buddy?
No comment.
No comment. Man, that's good. Right, okay. Yeah, so what before we got Carol on the player ratings, what were your general thoughts on the game, J2S?
I mean, De Gea saved us today because he finally made a penalty save, to be fair to him.
He did.
Yeah, and
hopefully that's a good omen for the final.
Yeah, Jadon Sancho played well. I don't know what's happened to him for the last part of this season. He's showed up a bit. Rashford was a bit off today. He's finishing in front of goal. Weghorst's probably one of the worst loan signings in Premier League history. I mean, it was harder to miss than score, and he missed. Yeah. And Bruno did his job as well. So just decent result overall.
Fair play. Speaking of Sancho, what would you give Sancho today? J2S, what would you give Sancho?
Maybe about 7.
7? Okay, fair enough. Ask you, what about Bruno Fernandes? Oh, obviously, right? Okay. Yeah, I think obviously got the goal. Has been doing well the last couple of games. Bruno, was he captaining the team when no one else would. I don't think I would like to see Bruno, especially. So I've got the City game in mind. If we are going to play him, I would like to see Bruno sort of drop in a bit more and just just help the midfield just a little bit more instead of constantly just sort of going forward. I think that doesn't help, but it is what it is. That's just one thing I just would like more from Bruno's game, because we're not going to win the midfield battle against City, even with. I mean, for me, the midfield you see on this field is our best midfield. Casemiro, Fred, Bruno, Fernandes. Eriksen is better if you're playing against a low block. I get it. But against competent midfields, for me, this is our best midfield. Unless you want to play Bruno in the holding role alongside Casemiro and play either Sabitzer or maybe Eriksen in that number 10 role, then possibly you can do that. But you can't play Eriksen and Casemiro in a holding role. Like it just doesn't work. It really doesn't. But yeah, I would give Bruno probably give Bruno about a 6.5 to 7 something. Garnacho, RSV or J2S Garnacho?
Maybe a 6. Played decent. I mean, he's coming back from injury, so I don't expect a lot from him. He's pretty young as well, so you can't expect young players to play well in and out. They dropped form. They had a really decent game, to be fair.
For me, Garnacho right now is still not yet a first team regular. He's not like, don't want to mention him, but Greenwood, who, Greenwood was a first team player when he was playing. Like we relied on him to do things. For Garnacho, I don't think you can rely on him for 90 minutes. I think he's a good impact sub. I think he can come off the bench, and I suspect in the final it'll be a similar thing. Although Anthony looks like he's going to be out for a while, so it'll be interesting to see who plays. I think you probably have to play Sancho off the right, and then play Rashford off the left, and then play Martial up top, and then you see what happens after that. That's at least what I think anyway. Obviously Martial didn't start. Last thoughts on Marcus Rashford, J2S?
He had a I say he had a poor game for his standards this season. I mean, I know he's been rushed back from injury essentially because Anthony got injured, Martial's hit and miss, Weghorst we can't trust, so we haven't got a lot of depth, so he has to start. Otherwise, we're playing. Who else are we going to play? Bruno Eriksson as a false nine. We don't want to see that.
No.
Yeah.
We really don't have any other options, unfortunately. I guess Palestri maybe could come into it, but who knows?
That's the problem we have because we have to play Garnacho as well, and he's young because there's not depth. If this was Man City, you could change in and out, rest him here and there, bring him in, bring him out. That's what they did with the likes of Foden and Cole Palmer, those kind of players.
Yeah.
But Man United, we don't have the depth for it. Just have to play.
And that is why this summer is incredibly important, but unfortunately, it's being held up by the stupid Glazers right now. So Sancho first half on the right 8, second half on the left 6, needs to start on the right in the final over Anthony for me. Well, Anthony's not going to be available. He's missing the final. He's not going to be there. So for me, you have a choice to make. I don't think Ten Hag will start Garnacho in the final. I don't think that's going to happen. So I would suspect that he will start. I highly doubt he's going to start Well, I don't say highly, but he can't start Weghorst in the final. He's not going to. So I would suspect it will be Sancho off the right, Rashford off the left, and Martial top. Ironically enough, the front three that United fans have wanted all this time. That's the funny thing. That's the front three the United fans have wanted all this time is the front three that probably is going to start against Manchester City. Sancho, Martial, and Rashford. Because if all those three somehow get in sync and cook, and hit City on the counter, whatever, like they could cook if they're in sync, and if they're not selfish and if they work together, then it could work. But we'll see what happens. But I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, but the problem is, will Anthony Martial last the match?
Says that. Well, he's got no choice. Yeah. He's got no choice. And to be honest, even if he doesn't, that's when you can bring off Garnacho. When you can bring on Garnacho. And bring on Garnacho to the left, and then just move Rashford to centre forward. That's fine. You can do that. I've got no problem with that, especially because Garnacho can give us that impact subness. We can have that option. But outside of that, I don't know. We don't really have anyone else really off the bench that could, outside of Garnacho for those front three, maybe Palestri. I don't know why you bring on a Weghorst. I don't know.
If I see Martial subbed off for Weghorst on the 70th minute mark, we're not winning.
No, we're not. I don't see the point in it because it's the last game of the, it's the last game. I just don't get it. The only reason I bring on Weghorst is if it goes to penalties, because his penalty was decent. His penalty was decent. So outside of that, though, I don't want to see Weghorst playing really. I don't see the point of it. Anyway, those and dudettes in the chat. That's all the play ratings. Thank you guys so much. Obviously, job done. We're obviously going to go into depth with all of this. We have the FA Cup preview coming next week, and obviously a watch along the final next weekend as well. Our season is not yet over now. We have a big game. I mean, as David T said, forget the match. I hope Marshall can start training before the game. Jeez, there's that. Jeez, you're not wrong though, David T. That's the problem. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Jeez, man, it's peak, Fab. It's peak. It really is. Yeah, guys, we'll be back obviously for the FA Cup final preview and the FA Cup. I hope we try and do a watch long for it as well, and hopefully we can. We need to stop City winning the treble, man. We need to try and stop City winning the treble. Like they can't.
They rested all their players today as well, which is not a good sign.
I know. But sometimes it doesn't always work. Sometimes resting your players doesn't always work. Sometimes it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. And at the end of the day, we got to beat these guys. We somehow, some way. We've beaten Manchester City before. I'll bet no one is counted, but we can beat them. So but we just got to. I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know when, but we just got to somehow beat these guys. We just got to somehow beat these guys at Trafford. So yeah, so stay tuned for that for next week, and of course, after we'll have our season review for the whole season. Looking forward to next season. In between that, hopefully we'll get some takeover news, and Tom will be on on the show to give us also some updates next week about how the takeover is going. So stay tuned for that. Samasi, Samasi says Treble, and Samasi is a very interesting character because I was speaking to her in the chat when Dortmund, when Bayern, what was it, Cologne had equalized against Bayern, and she was getting angry, So, but it's funny, But shout out to Bayern Munich, they won the Bundesliga, even though Dortmund they less won it and more Dortmund just bricked it badly, continuously, So, but shout out to them. But yeah, we'll see how Bayern are next season because I think they're going to need a lot more work. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for those who tune in. If you're new channel, to like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Follow us on We Are United X, smash the notification button. Stay tuned for more United and Premier League and just general football goodness. Have a nice day, everyone, and cheers. Peace out. Peace.